Welcome to another film brought to you by the guys over at Daiwa, and today myself and Iain have come down to Thorpe Lea Fishery, which is great because hopefully we will get into a few fish, but unfortunately the weather is not on our side, which is why I am huddled under the safety of my boot to tie a few rigs. Hopefully once we've tied some rigs, the weather would have passed a bit and we can get around and get the rods out. Well, we are off the mark and that didn't take long at all. Rods have probably been out about half an hour and this one rattled off, right hand rod. And yeah, it's definitely not one of the biggest in here, probably a mid-double, but it's definitely a sweetener, got a good bend in the rod. And this is actually day 1 of 2. So we're only doing day sessions, but we're gonna come back for a second day. So we're trying to cram as much in as possible and try and catch as many fish as possible. So with that in mind, I did get the rod straight back out even after I'd retained this one. So the nets we're using, the Daiwa cross cast, they're really good actually because they've got a little point at the end, so you can retain fish for a short period of time actually in the net whilst you get your rod back out. So that's what I've done to maximise the time that we've got here, and there are a lot of fish showing in that sort of area that we're fishing. But we'll come on to all of that in a second when the weather clears up a little bit and we can have a little talk and go through what we've been doing. But yes, very happy to get off the mark. Like I say, we're going to come back for a second day, and what we're going to do, because me and Iain have got different sets of rods and reels, we're actually going to swap over kit. So then there will be another video where we're talking about the kit, discussing what we like about them and that sort of thing. So for now, let's slip this one back. I might put a little bit more bait out because they're clearly on it. The amount of fish showing out there is a little bit ridiculous. So we've got to really maximise the time that we're here and try and catch some more. That's a bite.
That is a bite.
Well, should we try that again?
Yeah, that was a bit of excitement, wasn't it?
It was. Right. Bringing you up to speed, what has happened so far? It's all a bit of a blur in my head, it probably is in yours as well.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, got round to the swim,
Yes.
hammering it down with rain,
Yes.
horrendous conditions, just needed to get rods out because of the extreme limited time that we were on. So
got rods out first thing, and we decided to go in swims at 50 and 51.
Yep.
There's a lot of fish showing out in front of us at varying ranges, really, wasn't it? Anywhere between, what, 10 to 25 wraps,
Yeah,
I'd say?
I mean, they seemed
seemed
looking out
everywhere.
over the lake, as long as you hit the water, you're in a relatively good chance of having a fish.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, that hasn't quite been the case.
It hasn't yet, but there is still time. So yeah, we've got the rods out straight away. I'm fishing in my swim at 21 wraps. I was going to have one slightly closer, but to be honest, by the time we got everything sorted, the fish were showing that little bit further out. So yeah, 21 wraps, both rods are on that. I say 21, it's actually 22 because I'm casting from quite a way back because the swims are quite flooded, hence the waders. So it's 22 wraps, but it's actually 21 from the edge of the swim. And yeah, it goes down with a nice solid donk, fairly shallow. And I'm literally fishing really simple methods, got a helicopter set up and a little blowback rig. And then bait wise, I'm using a little 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, just a hard hook bait, bottom bait, nothing too fancy. And that is what has resulted in both fish. Obviously you've seen the first one, you haven't seen the second yet, which is better than the first. It's quite a nice one sitting in there, isn't it?
He is a cool one, definitely.
So over to your swim.
So my swim, fairly similar scenario to what's going on in your swim. I'm fishing at a similar range, about 25 wraps from mine. Again, as Luke mentioned, the water levels are extremely high, so we're casting from quite far back. So yeah, about 100 yards, and I went for the standard like Thorpe Lea
Curly tactics.
full curly method,
Yeah.
which is solid bags.
Please tell me that there's not going to be a sequence.
No,
I can't film any more of them.
yeah, we'll let the viewers off from another solid bag sequence.
Okay.
But yeah, so I went for solid bags thinking, yeah, it's been hammered over the bank holiday weekend, so I'm sure absolutely loads of bait went in. So I thought little parcels, little packages in the right places might do me a bite.
Yep.
So
How's that going?
it's a little slow at the moment.
No, that is actually a fair point to mention. We're fishing on a Tuesday, day session on a Tuesday, and it is after the bank holiday weekend. So this lake has pretty much been booked out for the duration. So in terms of a baiting approach, obviously you've gone very minimal with solid bags. But with what I've been putting out, I've been using small boilies, 12mm boilies, but only few and far between with them. But I'm using mainly pellet, and it's a tiny pellet as well. So the reason for that is just to try and get a bit of scent in the area, just to kind of hold the fish there. Obviously they can then pick up a few boilies that are out there, but obviously that in theory should be more chance of a hook bait being picked up. And I guess that's actually working.
Yeah, it seems to be doing the trick, right?
Which is very rare for me to say. I'm doing something and it's working.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where we're at,
so I was just going to say, one of the key things I have noticed is that obviously Luke has now managed to bag 2 fish on extremely drab coloured hook baits, basically a match the hatch approach.
I thought you were going to say it matches my personality.
It's almost identical in every way. I opted for the 𝗲𝗷𝗿 route, like trying to snatch a bite, basically, hoping that they would just grab it. So I think a change is in order, I should say. And I think, yeah, time to put on some match the hatch hook baits and see if we can nick a fish.
Yeah. Should we get this fish out?
Let's do it.
Well, he is actually a little bit smaller than first thought. It was just under 17 pound. I thought he was going to scrape 20, but yeah, he didn't. But he's still a very cool fish, nice dark common, pretty immaculate as well. So we're happy to have a second fish of the day. Hopefully, once we slip this back, a few more might come along, and hopefully a few will come Iain's way as well. So he's got some nice infinity rods. I want to see the bend of them. So let's get him back and try and have a few more.
Okay, so I've had rods out on a long spot, as we mentioned in the brief chat that we had a moment ago, but I've just seen a couple of fish show in close. They look like about 12.5 wraps-ish. I've wrapped it out, I've checked the distance, it's perfect, so I'm gonna get a solid bag straight on it. As we said, that was my choice of tactic, and that is primarily because it is super quick and easy to cast onto showing fish. So that's what we're gonna do, and hopefully that's gonna nick us that extra fish that we need.
Right, so it's just gone 2 o'clock now, and the gate's actually shut here at 4 o'clock today. So we've only got a couple of hours left, probably realistically only an hour and a half left of the rods actually being out. So it's gone a little bit quiet the last half hour or so. I'm going to put a little bit more bait out, and I'd rather do that now and then know that I've got a good period of time before we have to reel in, rather than think, oh, something might happen, leave another half hour and then cause that disturbance, which might kill it off completely. So yeah, I'm just going to put probably 3 or 4 more spoms out, just some of these little boilies for now. I'm not going to do any more of the pellet because I think they're so small, the pellets, there's going to be more than enough out there to keep them grubbing about. So yeah, just a little top up of boilies, get that out there, and hopefully before we reel in, something will happen.
So that brings us to the end of day 1.
May I add, a fairly successful day 1.
For some of us.
For some of us. But this is not a versus match in any way, shape or form.
It's always a versus.
It's always a versus. So you do have a score to settle next time,
100%.
don't you?
I can't wait for day 2. I'm looking forward to coming back to Thorpe Lea. I love it every time we come down here. I'm also looking forward to having a go with the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏
out. So
Yeah. I witnessed it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I must admit, I am looking forward to trying out your infinities.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
roll on day 2.
Yes, exactly that. Well, let's get back round to the van,
Yep.
get out of here, and then, yeah, we'll be back soon with
Let's do it.
with a score to settle,
Yeah.
I might add.
Hopefully a nicer day as well.
Yeah. Let's
Go
do
on
it.
then. Well, it's nice to see that day 2 is kicking off exactly how day 1 finished, with a lovely Thorpe Lea common. So let's get this in and have a little look. Well, it's been a few weeks since myself and Iain have been down here, and during that time the fish have spawned, so it was inevitable we were going to get amongst the angry little males, and from the way he's super tense, this is one of them. But hopefully we will have a few bigger ones during our session as well. But for now, let's slip this one back, let him go and chill out, and have a little catch up of what we've done so far. Well, I'd like to say that I really enjoyed playing that fish on the infinities that Iain was using last time and the whisker reels. But unfortunately, Ian's been moaning like a little girl.
Thanks.
Little girl. And he didn't want to give up his infinities.
No, I didn't want to give up the infinities. I've become rather attached to them. Since you last saw us here at Thorpe Lea for the day session, I have been using the infinities in my own personal fishing and on a couple of other shoots as well. And yeah, I really like them, and I definitely wasn't going to give Luke the chance to have a go with them in case he kept them.
Yeah, so every time I've seen Iain, he's been waxing lyrical about these infinities. So it would have been nice to get my hands on them, but it kind of makes sense because we will be doing a separate video where we're talking about the ins and outs of the rods and the reels that we've been using. So it makes sense that we both use the ones that we've been given consistently, doesn't it?
Exactly that, exactly that. And I have put them to good use, not so much in these particular sessions that you've been watching. I've taken them to Swan Valley. I've had a couple of fish there. Match Lake in 𝗖𝗥𝗣𝗏. I've had a couple of catfish up to 50 pounds. So yeah, I've certainly put them through their paces. Not that I was fishing for the catfish, I might just add. I've put them through their paces, and yeah, I absolutely love them. So yeah, unlucky. Yeah,
I'd love to say the same about the longbows. I have been using them in between these sessions, but I haven't put them through their paces. I've blanked a horseshoe, and I've blanked here, and I've blanked there, and anyway, today's a different story because I've caught a fish. But to bring you up to speed on what we've done so far and where we are, obviously we're back at Thorpe Lea like we've mentioned, but we're in swims 43 and 44, so we're a bit further around the lake this time, aren't we? And I'm pretty much fishing to 22 wraps. I've put a bit of bait out, and yeah, I mean, the longbows are getting me out there nice and comfortably, and that's where I caught the fish from. So, I mean, there's not a lot else to say.
No, I mean, Thorpe Lea is very well known for having spots out at that sort of range. So pretty much any swim along the bank that we're on, you will be fishing at that sort of 20 to 25 wraps realistically. Last time we did the session, I was fishing solid bags, and Luke obviously had a couple of fish on his sort of boilie and pellet type approach. So I haven't completely adopted that approach, but I have gone to that on one rod, and then I've stuck to a solid bag on the other rod because I know that the fish in here do love a solid bag. Yeah. Just apparently not my ones.
And they're kind of all over the place, aren't they? So it gives you that option that, yeah, you can put one out to the plateau at that sort of range with bait, but also we are seeing them between the bank and 22 wraps as well, aren't we? So your solid bag rod is a bit more wherever you see a fish, plonk it straight on it, hope for the best. I mean, the best hasn't happened yet. But there's still time. We've got the whole day ahead of us, haven't we?
Yeah.
So shall we crack on, try and catch some more?
Yep, let's do it. We're a couple of hours after Luke released that lovely little Thorpe Lea common, and the swim has gone a little bit quiet. Now, one of the things that really can get you that extra fish is to keep topping up your swim with bait. Sort of match tactics, little and often, will keep the bites coming, especially on a venue like this where there are so many fish in here. As I say, the swim has gone a little bit quiet, so it's time to put out some bait, and hopefully I can get a fish on the bank for myself. This is the second day trip now where I haven't managed to produce a fish, so I'm getting a little bit worried, but hopefully we can pull it out of the bag before we go home. Well, commiserations after all of that extra bit of work, putting the bait out, trying to get the swim going again, which I might add, it worked. I got the bite, I got the take, and the fish was on for a good couple, maybe 5 minutes. And unfortunately, the hook has pulled, and yeah, gutted to say the least. But Gonna get this rod wrapped up again, get a fresh bait on, fresh hook, get another fish hopefully. Let's do it.
Well, that has been a long, hard day.
It certainly has. We have, yeah, we put the effort in.
Yeah, and I feel like we've got very little to show for it.
Yeah, does seem that way.
I mean, not a lot has happened. Obviously, I had that common first thing this morning, and you did end up getting the bite, didn't you? That you've been trying for
yeah.
at least 2 days.
Yeah, I did get the bite, unfortunately.
And then you ballsed it up.
Yes. Thank you.
Sorry.
Yes. We worked hard. We got what we needed. Just didn't quite get all the way to getting the fish in the net. But hey ho, it is what it is. It's one of them. It's extremely hot today. Don't really think the fish are on it, mainly because I can see them all with their backs in the sun.
Yeah, I mean, where we're fishing is literally 3 foot in depth, but they are not coming down at all, are they?
Not interested.
They're not bothered. They just want to sit around, sunbathe, get a bit of a tan, and they'll probably feed about when we reel in.
yeah. Which is in about, what, 10 minutes, realistically.
So,
We've got to get back round to the gate so they can let us out.
Gate shut at 4. We've got about 15 minutes to pack up and get round there, so they're going to love us. But it's been great coming out with all the Daiwa kit once again, and it's a shame I never got to test them infinities of yours. But like we have said earlier, we will be doing a full standalone video on the rods and reels that we've been using during the session. Probably worth a mention to that spod rod and reel as well, because that has been outstanding.
And that is an absolute bargain.
Yeah, but again, we'll save all that for a separate video. But I'm very much looking forward to the next Daiwa shoot, because this is part of a series and we don't quite know what's going to be sent through next.
Yeah, the kit seems to be going up in levels.
Oh yeah.
So the next level is, well,
it can only be 𝗶𝗍𝗄𝗃's, right?
Yeah, super special.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.